Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Katrina Ness, Vanessa Collins, and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings, Vanessa Collins, and Katrina Ness.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable's After Dark show. Tonight, I'm joined by Vanessa Collins and Ted Ings, and then our two guests tonight, John Fairchild and Linda Hansen. Welcome, both of you. It's so great to have you back on.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Two of the best in the industry, Linda and
Just ask us.
and John. Yeah, Linda, it looks like you're working late.
You know, our day never ends, Ted. You know that.
So Vanessa and Katrina, thank you for being here. We know you got a big trip coming up next week, but we're really humbled to have these two industry experts, the best in fixed ops, on with us tonight. I know you're going to have some questions for them. Our audience will as well. And John, where are you today? Where are you tonight?
Actually, I'm in Orlando at a big OEM expo presenting a few, actually 4 workshops to about 300 people.
Wow. Okay. Anything you can discuss here publicly, or?
Yeah. It's actually it's a real good program. This is a heavy truck OEM that what we're doing is we're training outside parts reps on the best way to approach their customers to get the best results, and some practical daily tips and how to proactively overcome objections. There's some common objections in the field. And if I can proactively overcome them, once an objection comes out of a customer's mouth, once that's become an ugly beast in the universe, it's been born into the universe. Now I've got to stuff it back down to my client and talk them out of their objection. And it's a much more difficult, not that it can't be done, and there's certainly a lot of strategies and tactics to use for that. But ultimately, if I can extinguish that, hey, Sean Kingry, if I can extinguish.
And Sean says you've never had an objection you can't overcome, John.
Okay, but can we prevent the existence of that objection before it comes out of the customer's mouth? And I'm here to tell you that there are trigger events that we can use to predict that a customer may be having one of those shortcomings in one of those objections. And then what are our strategies to proactively overcome it?
Well, okay. We're graced with several people here.
It's all about the hours is what I told them today is, listen, guys, it's all about the hours. And I also said, God bless America. And they agreed. Tully,
welcome. Larry Sherman, welcome from the West Coast. Linda, what an icon Tully has become, right? That phrase, all about the hours, like John says.
Exactly.
I mean, you hear that now, it came from Tully, right?
You need to patent that, Tully. You get a trademark on that, brother.
Exactly.
So Tully's a great friend of the industry, and Sarah Van Tyne coming in as well, and Larry Sherman to remind us that if it wasn't for the parts department, John, we wouldn't sell any hours, right? So,
amen. It'd be a whole lot of diag, right, Larry? What else would you get?
Linda, when we were in Larry's dealership last week, we saw he's got the back counter of the parts department now out into the shop, okay, and they've got these carts where they're finding out what the tech needs. And now the next step is the robot, Linda. The robot going to bring the parts right in the shop.
You know, I know there are a couple stores out there, apparently within about an hour and a half drive of where I am in Cincinnati. So once I'm not on the road, I'm going to plan a road trip and go take a look at some of those robots in action. I think that's fascinating technology. So can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Katrina, do you know who that shirt talks a lot is? Who he means?
Oh, yeah. Tully is his character. He's his own character.
Yeah, he is. Right. So, well, great. All right. Ladies, I know you have some questions for the experts tonight, and I'll let you go at it because it's not often that we get them here together.
Yeah, we thank you, Ted. We do have multiple questions for the both of you. For me, I'll start with John. You've been around more service drives than a shuttle bus. So what's the most common mistake that dealerships keep making in fixed ops? And how do you walk in, smile, and say, all right, folks, let's unfunk this mess?
Wow.
Hey, that's a very good question. And you're right. I've never really thought about until tonight that I have been around more service drives than a shuttle van. But, the biggest mistake, overall in general, in a lot of environments I walk into, the service department is operating like it's 1997. Okay. No process, no playbook, just attitude and oil changes. And they're just kind of flushing through those repair orders as we go. And, it's kind of like trying to win the Super Bowl without a game plan. And really the first thing when I walk in there, a lot of times in some environments, you can try to look for a positive, and the one thing you find, well, at least the coffee's hot. And so really the first step in any engagement that we look to shore up is to get the bullets ready to fire. There's no point in coming in and teaching and training sales tactics. And hey, Jonathan
Dawson, welcome tonight. Yeah, very nice.
There's no point in teaching sales strategies unless the setup is proper. Okay. And so some of those things that we'll do when we'll come in is op code purification. We'll do a labor market study. We do a mystery shop. Both 1997 is the year that Kathy graduated, huh? You're robbing the cradle over there, Sean. We'll do a mystery shop. So we'll call the competitors and say, we're a customer, and make sure that our prices are in line. We don't want to be the highest. We don't want to be the lowest, but that's the most scrutinized subset of things that we sell in the service drive. So we want to be cognizant of that. And then from there, we get things set up. A lot of times there's no flat pricing in our menus, and it's just not easy to do business. And so, if I go in again and try to teach sales strategies right away, then I'm really at a disadvantage because they're not going to be able to execute them. And then when they are not be able to execute them, is something that they're going to throw by the wayside and keep doing things the way they're doing. So that's the first thing really that we do, Vanessa, is we look for the setup and we make sure that we got the bullets loaded properly so that we do come into firing. It's something that we've really made an emotional deposit with those service advisors so that they're not begrudging having to actually execute it. And thank you, Jonathan's going on and on here, and I really appreciated that, but he's right. And we can measure measurable ROI just by setting up things right and then embarking in a program that systematically moves things forward step by step.
Yeah. So, with some of these, mistakes and mishaps that happen that keep the service drive and the fixed ops department not, being and performing as well as it could. What, Linda, can you answer this? Can I ask you, what should managers track and use to find coaching opportunities to help their teams improve? And what would you like to see on that end? And what do you think that they should focus on their end?
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of service managers and service directors are always depending on their computer systems to spit out the productivity, the efficiency, the proficiency, and they don't know how to do it themselves. And I like to work with people and have them figure out, how can I take a look and really analyze my shop and not just look at the reports that the DMS is spitting out? Because sometimes, it's garbage in, garbage out. And I think that managers need to know how to manually calculate this and be able to coach the people that work for them to understand the importance of these things. We always say, and God bless you, Tully, all about the hours, but if the service advisor doesn't know how to track the hours that they are selling, it can be a big problem. Another thing I see is we are always tracking declined recommended services, declined ASRs. but we don't take any action. We just track them, and then it's just garbage. So I think that a lot of times we have to, as a manager, well, with what John and I do, work with the managers to give them some actionable items so that they can work and educate their staff. There's so many different metrics out there that are being measured, but I really think, are you trending upwards? Is your effective labor rate, reasonable compared to your door rate? Do we have happy technicians who are turning the hours? Is the shop in a condition where it can support the technicians? I've spent a lot of time looking at special tool rooms and special tools, and I see so much time wasted because the technicians can't find what they need, and that's lost hours again. So there's an awful lot of things that, managers, I don't care for the type of manager that sits in his office all day. They need to be out on the drive, watching, reviewing. When I was a service manager, I would never ask one of my employees to do something that I couldn't do. So, it's just kind of the way I think about things. But I think metrics are great, but they're only an indicator of what's actually happening in the service department.
And Linda, when you say ASR, that stands for additional service requests?
Recommendations.
Recommendations.
Right.
Okay.
So the things we find on the MPI, hopefully we're doing good video MPIs. And if we're not presenting everything the technician is finding, we are doing our customers and our technicians a disservice. A lot of stores I go in have dysfunctional trust issues between service advisors and technicians.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to work out and get more of a cohesive team between advisors and technicians.
Can I write that down? Dysfunctional trust issues.
You bet.
John, that's powerful. That's a great phrase.
Yeah, I just wrote it down, took a note on that. Does that resonate with a majority of service managers at some point in their career? Yep. Hey, Jim Sabino,
can you imagine that? Dysfunctional trust issues between the advisor and a tech. Wow, that is powerful.
DTI.
I bet you're here in Jersey too, right, Jim? So
I'm going to have to prescribe your shop with DTI. Functional trust issues. Okay,
I love that, Linda. That's so powerful.
Got the prescription, but this is what's happening. I like that, Linda.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's powerful. Awesome. Jim says never. Not in New
Jersey.
Never.
And I got some swampland to sell you too.
Right. But Linda, amazing how many common things we see around the country, right?
Yes.
In dealerships that we go in and we can identify, and we've seen that before, right? It's not the first time.
No. And I mean, every dealership and every fixed ops department has its own personality, but the number of them out there that are just doing things over and over because they've always done them this way, and they don't think about looking for a new approach to make a change. If we want to have more dollars per repair order, we can't settle for what we've been doing. We have to find a way to find the hours. And, for hours and parts, labor sells parts and parts sells labor. So we need to get the entire fixed ops team together, making inroads and thinking a little bit differently than we've always done it this way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Jonathan, pivoting a little bit, Jonathan here said it first. Back to John, you have a reputation for turning, underperforming departments into fixed ops powerhouses. So my question is, what is your secret sauce, if you will? And you can't just say caffeine in whiteboards. So what's your secret sauce?
Well, okay, you caught me. So, because there are, I will admit, copious amounts of caffeine involved. And, the real sauce is creating clarity and creating certainty. And the way that it feels on a service drive in a typical hour is that you're trying to get a sip of water out of a fire hydrant, perhaps. It's all coming at you very quickly. And it's not that people are failing because they're lazy, particularly. Some may just be confused, but a larger part of it, as Ted has heard me say before, is that there is no rhythm or cadence of accountability. So nobody, any training, any process, any new software, anything we do in the drive is is going to rapidly evaporate if there is no accountability. Mm-hmm. And I know everybody that's heard me open my mouth before has heard me say that. And complacency is like a cancer in the car business. Okay. And it definitely is, Jonathan Dawson. And how do we bust out of that? What is the secret sauce? The secret sauce is really not that complicated. It's not a secret, but we have to have managers performing as coaches. And if I don't have a coach that is going to, my job in the best in engagements is to coach the coach. And, furthermore, to hand that baton off, if you will, to the general manager also, because I'm not going to be there every day. Mm-hmm. And, and somebody has got to coach the coach. And Sean, you got a good point there is we got the easiest hour we can ever sell is on a repair order that is already been written. It's in your shop. The car's in there. Perhaps it's on a lift. And like Sean is saying here, you're going backwards if we're just looking for more and more repair orders to come in, but we're not doing anything with them. And I see that in so many environments, then it's a losing situation. It's not sustainable. And so the secret sauce really is accountability. And there's nothing works unless we work it. And we've got to have the execution to actually get to the next spot. And it's foundational. We've got to make those foundational things execute, because if I have a manager that won't get his people, can't or won't or doesn't get his people to execute, any further training that is piled on top of that is really for naught, because they're going to, as Sean Kingery always says, they're going to wait us out until we leave that alone and go on to the next thing. So we got to have accountability.
Definitely.
Linda, you've seen that. They wait us out, right?
I can't help, but I wanted to jump in here so badly.
No.
I know we're all talking about let's trying to grow our repair order count. Let's trying to grow our business, but we don't want to grow our business until we fix our processes, because bringing more customers into a broken process is just a recipe for disaster. And I see so many dealerships that don't have processes that work. Somebody told them they needed a written process. They write one, it hits a check mark for the OEM, and then it sits on a shelf and gathers dust, or it's an old PDF that's never looked at again. So Amen. Having processes that actually work, I think, is absolutely huge. And the lack of accountability and the lack of willingness to coach and counsel that I see all the way from general managers down to every manager in the store, because nobody has ever taught them how to do it. They right. don't know what to do. So John and I think a lot alike when it comes to things like this.
Definitely. And you talked about coaching, and Linda was talking about coaching, earlier with one of her points, and, using data to figure out and to know what to coach on.
Yeah. I mean, data can be a sticky thing, like Linda was saying, and I agree with you, Linda. And you've got to have a scoreboard that is a couple of things. Number one, it is updated daily.
Yep.
It's in a conspicuous spot that everybody can see it, not customer facing, but all team members can see it. And most importantly, it's got to prevent paralysis by analysis. I don't have to have every metric up there. Okay. There's some key performance indicators. Ted likes to call them KPIs, that if we have those KPIs displayed, and I can see, am I in the green or am I not in the green?
Right.
As a team member, and glance at that. Listen, nobody wants to be in the red. And I think a lot of times in the service environment, unlike variable ops, if you go up to the front of the house, there's a glass scoreboard of such, or some kind of leaderboard that is going to show you who's got how many units out, what their gross is. And it's no secret. So I don't see that a lot happening in the service drive. And I think it's about time that we get that enacted. The last thing that is that scoreboard's like a silent salesman. You don't really have to say anything about it. People are going to glance at it.
Right.
And now I can hold a daily huddle, and I can emphasize where we're doing well. And then I can challenge the people who aren't to give me something that you're going to execute today that's going to make a difference in your scoreboard, so I can help you, coach you on it.
Mm-hmm. And John, it was so funny because Ted and I were together back in January, and the first time I ever used the phrase "a rank and spank report," you should have seen his face because he had never heard that terminology before. But that's what I call those. Definitely old school gym, pressure board, rank and spank, whatever you tend to call it. But it does have to be someplace where it's constantly, well, first of all, it has to be updated on a daily basis. And it has to be accurate. You have to have your huddles. You have to talk about what did we do well yesterday? What didn't we do well? What could I, as your manager, have done to support you better? And talk about some of these things. Yeah.
The visibility, the communication, Linda, how it is so important. That might be a Buckeye saying, by the way. It might be an Ohio thing. All right. But that is so true. That is so
Makes
true.
A big difference.
And ladies, we saw that last week when we were at Nilo with Larry Sherman and with Tully at the Nilo group. They're always ranking, and they have these boards out there, and everything is very, very visible. So,
hey, Tully is the king of scoreboards, man. That guy is got it down to a complete science, and he uses those to actually manage his group, and it works fantastically. He gamifies the scoreboard as well, Linda, which is it's such an awesome concept because now people are paying attention because they want something else out of it. They want recognition. They want that extra little oomph. They want the bonus that comes with that. They're looking at it constantly. So yeah, Tully is the master of scoreboards, and it works very, very well.
Now, it's funny. I was in one of Tully's stores several years ago, but I was on a sales project, not a service project. But I did sit with the service manager for a while, and we sat there and reviewed those boards. Very impressive, and everything is tracked.
Absolutely. And, Tully's like a robot, I think, because he does all the metrics for variable and fixed operations. And he gets into the shop about 5 a.m. and spends the first couple hours just updating his board. So, it's like Sean says, scoreboards should not be optional, and it should be shared with all the stores so that we've got a little internal competition, particularly if you have have a group of dealerships for sure.
Yeah. And these scoreboards, these rankings, they're huge motivators among employees. So Linda, kind of in light of talking about, motivators, since some dealer service departments are experiencing slow times, what else can managers do to motivate advisors when business is slow?
I am seeing business slow down in quite a few stores. I mean, the economy, people are just a little bit cautious in spending money right now, but slow times are not always bad. It's an opportunity for the managers to do some training. I am a big fan of cross-training between departments. I love to see a service advisor. Now, I mean, a lot of stores right now are putting in mobile service, but they have a dedicated mobile service advisor. You should be able to swap out, and a regular service advisor should be able to jump into mobile and vice versa. There are a lot of big stores that I see where they have a service advisor who merely does internals. Well, you're not developing that person for any kind of advancement. So I'm big in cross-training between advisors and different job roles, between service and parts. I don't think it's a bad thing for service advisors to sit in on some sales training because they're the ones that are dealing with all the issues having to do with the product. So when they get a new product and a new technology, I think it's really important for them to be up on that and well educated, but also just regular sales training. Very few service advisors have had formal sales training. How can you overcome an objection if you don't even know how to analyze it and then move forward? So I think slow times aren't a bad thing. And something John mentioned earlier, which is something that I think slow time is also good for. I see so many dealerships and they have thousands and thousands of unused labor ops in their DMS system. Clean it up. It just slows everything down. So use some downtime to do some data cleanup.
Absolutely.
Update your maintenance boards. We're seeing some manufacturers that may not have had flushes on their scheduled maintenances in the past, but they do now because of
Yes,
changes in technology. So let's educate and make sure we're offering to our customers what we should be offering based on their mileage interval services. So when you're slow, there's a lot of things that you can do. And I love Sean's comment. If things are slow, look internally. Are we the problem? Are we saying yes?
Sean's comment.
Yeah, that's right. Don't have a loose attitude. So take those slow times and button up your people. There are very few dealers that are calling and confirming appointments ahead of time, a day or two. Yeah. And then when they have no shows, they don't even bother to reach out to them. Right. So there's a lot of things on processes that you can work on while it's slow. The comment right here, pull a list of customers that haven't visited in the past 6 months. I also think during the slow time, it's a really good idea to get more involved if you have a BDC with what the BDC is doing regarding service appointments. Sure. Because so many stores I go into, the customers are going, well, I already told the person when I made the appointment all this information, but it isn't transferred over to what's in the DMS. Right. So now they're feeling like we're not respecting their time because we're making them start all over again. And it just makes your advisors more professional. If somebody reaches out and confirms the appointment, verifies what really needs to be done, and then face-to-face meeting with your BDC people. Hopefully they're on site or centrally located where you can have those face-to-faces, because that's the face of the dealership to the customer who's perhaps calling in to make an appointment. So yeah, we might be putting roadblocks in front of ourselves that are causing customers to defect.
And Linda, when we don't follow up on a no-show, or we don't call to confirm somebody whose appointment is coming up tomorrow, what's the message that we're sending, right? That wasn't that important anyway, right?
Amen.
You know, it's funny. I love to work with service advisors on no-shows. You know, don't call up the customer and say, hey, you didn't show up for your appointment. Say, you know, Ted, we expected you about 10:30. It's 11:30 now, and we haven't seen or heard from you. Is everything okay? Just the way you approach it, you know, half of the time the customer forgets and then they feel foolish for forgetting and they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Take advantage of the opportunities.
I like that.
Amen.
Great content, great material. Jeff Bogaski in the chat tonight. We've got some folks that we have not had in quite a while. Jonathan Dawson, Mike Benici, thank you. Some great information here. And
thank you, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
everyone.
John, what a great time to be in our industry, right? Fixed operations service.
Amen. Yeah, I've got a real passion for this business, so I really love helping dealers to excel, and doesn't feel like a job for sure.
It doesn't.
So, Linda, I'm wondering when the Northwood ladies head out to Sri Lanka in about 10 days, if they're going to get a chance to see any dealerships on their trip.
You know, I think that would be fascinating, because I know in a lot of other countries, the franchise model as we know it here in the US, and we all know they're not real franchises, they're personal service agreements. But in a lot of countries, the OEMs own the dealerships.
Wow.
So it's a whole different ball game.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see what kind of knowledge you all bring back to share with us.
No doubt. I want to go. Will you put me in your suitcase?
I love it. Yeah, we'll let you know if we stop into any dealerships. We haven't gotten our itinerary yet, but we are going to an automotive university. So even if we don't go, we'll make sure to gather some knowledge from our peers who we meet there.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I travel, I know my sister and I went to London a couple years ago, and I wanted to go visit dealerships, and she was like, "You're out of your mind," but we did.
I love it.
That's cool.
Incredible.
That is strong.
It's fun.
John, you should go chaperone this trip, right?
Right.
That would be so fun.
But Vanessa, you got a lot of people coming from the school, I heard, right? You've got Alexander Maison is going, and others. LG Bright is going.
Yes, we have LG, even his wife. We have a couple other, faculty from the international side of our university. and it's going to be super exciting. And I mean, I like what you brought up about visiting a dealership, because we visit dealerships a lot with, the Fixed Ops Roundtable, but being able to see one in a different country with a different culture would be just a unique experience. And that, I mean, me and Katrina, we would love to do that. So we will keep you guys updated the entire time, send Ted videos. And so stay tuned to our socials, because there'll be updates on there.
Sean Kingery, thank you for tracking down that suitcase too recently. So I think it was the gray one, right?
Oh, goodness. Yes, Sean, just for you, I will have a name tag on my suitcase this time. So just for you and Kathy, it won't happen again.
Linda, this has been fun, and I appreciate you and John coming tonight, Linda.
Oh, it's been great. Always
thank
a
you for
pleasure to
having
be
us.
here.
Appreciate it very much for the invitation.
Yeah, so much fun. Everybody, so next week we're in the home stretch. Monday we have a great show. And ladies, are we going to have a show Wednesday night next week as well? Will you be able to do that as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so 2 more shows before they depart for, where are you headed again? What part of the world?
Sri Lanka, right below India. It's going to be a long travel day, but so worth it. So,
All right. Okay.
Hopefully you get a little sightseeing in too.
Oh, yes. Northwood's amazing. They have a whole itinerary for us for the days that we're off, and there will be a lot of leisure time to explore the country. So we're so excited.
All right.
Just have a wonderful time if I don't get to talk to you between now and then.
Thank you so much, Linda. And
I'll
thank
come
you for
back
joining
safely.
us tonight, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, Linda Hansen, Auto Dealer Focus. You can find her on the web. She's on social media as well. A powerhouse in fixed operations. A great asset to dealers who work with her, and she has great accolades as well. And you've seen a couple for John Fairchild tonight. John, everybody turned out tonight. They must have known you were coming on. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I was like texting come on, guys. Got $50 for you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. On behalf of Katrina and Vanessa, Linda and John, I'm Ted Ings, and we'll see you on Monday night here on After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.